Okay, let's look at the first modern Bible perversion, the Revised Version of 1881. The Revised Version Committee promised it would make less than 1,400 changes to the KJV text. They made 36,000 changes. They promised they would not change the Greek text. They not only changed it, but they replaced it entirely with Westcott and Hort's Greek text, which changed the Textus Receptus in at least 5,000 places. George Vance Smith, the Unitarian that was on the Revised Version Committee, went to a communion service at Westminster Abbey, and he refused to recite the Nicene Creed because it says Jesus is God. He didn't want to say that. And a bunch of clergy said, "Hey, we don't want this guy on our translation committee." But Westcott and Hort stood up and said, "Oh yeah, if he goes, then we go." Westcott and Hort defended the Christ-denying Unitarian. Now, why would a Christian do that? At least 7 of the people on the Revised Version Translation Committee regretted the project and were ashamed of the results. Charles Woodsworth refused to sign a paper thanking the chairman because it would have been a lie. He didn't want his name associated with it. Trench and Moberly wanted to resign from the committee because they were so disgusted with the RV. Merivale said, "We are altogether playing havoc with the old text, in spite of my strong conservative inclination. Not influence, I'm sorry to say." The conservatives, in other words, the sincere Christians, were a minority on the Revised Version Committee, and they had no influence. Kennedy said, "I hope it's not unalterably permanent." Mr. Brown said, "For when the itch for change took possession of the company, I was infected by it. But as the work went on, I was one of those who saw that the changes which were being made were far too many." Humphrey said, "Each of us times without number has been outvoted by a tyrant majority." There were people on the Revised Version Committee with an agenda. And it wasn't to improve the Bible, it was to destroy it. Some of you are just too scared to believe what the devil does. You think the devil is just sitting around somewhere twiddling his thumbs. In response to criticism of the science of textual criticism, textual critics will say, well, the people responsible for the production of the King James Version used textual criticism too, so how can you knock it? But no, they didn't. The makers of the Textus Receptus Greek editions, Erasmus, Stephanus, Beza, and the King James translators did not use the rules of modern textual criticism. Even Westcott and Hort admitted that. They wrote, "Erasmus published the text commonly called received without selection or deliberate criticism." Westcott and Hort wanted the text criticized. And they wrote, "The choices of the 16th century Greek editors were arbitrary and uncritical." They weren't changing the text, they were just passing it along like good stewards should do. Jesus said, "If a man love me, he will keep my words." Not if you love me, you'll change my words. Not if you love me, you'll find my words. Restore my words. Replace my words. No, he said, keep my words. Here they are. Here's his words. I'm keeping them in my brain, keeping them in my heart, I'm keeping them on my bookshelf, and I'm trying to obey them, while textual critics are trying to steal them.